This segment of Hak5 is brought to you by Domain.com.
I kind of feel like I should be starting this off saying like, for Hak5, I'm Darren Kitchen.
I've been doing that all day.
Well, it's finally nice to kind of relax for a moment here at the Red Touch Media booth.
Yeah, I feel so much better actually getting to sit down. My feet, even though I got Dr. Scholl's in my soles, I gotta say I'm so tired.
Actually, considering this isn't even airing until next week, everybody else probably, even just viewers at home who aren't here, probably also have a CES hangover, right?
Yeah, you're probably right, especially, you know, drinking after watching all those segments.
Drinking just to get through them. Actually, well, one of the things that I wanted to talk about kind of in our whole, like, you know, idea of surviving a technology conference like this is kind of review some of like the tips that we've learned over the years of getting through these without falling over.
Yeah, I definitely am interested in what you have to say today because I've been having a lot of issues with my cell phone.
So this is really just kind of candid off the cuff. I figure I'm actually going to retouch on a whole lot of fun signal theory stuff at the main whiteboard at the Hak5 studio later. But since this is a perfect example of a situation where you just have a ton of people, there are what, 150,000 people here?
Yeah, just about. That's what they estimated when it first started, about 150,000 people. And all of those people are trying to share all of the cell phone networks, all the major carriers.
And so here in the United States, basically, you're in one of two camps. You're either with AT&T or T-Mobile on a GSM network, or you're with Verizon or Sprint on a CDMA network. And so I figured that I'd just kind of illustrate some of the stuff that, well, actually, I picked this up at Mike Osmond's workshop around TorCon about the differences in the way that those signals work. And so we've actually talked about this several seasons back when, in regards to pulse code modulation, in regards to like the way that audio is put on a CD, and other ways that they're done on wire lines, landlines, and stuff. Very similar in the wireless space. Basically, what we're talking about is there's a finite resource. There's a little bit of spectrum, and what we want to do is share that with a ton of people. And so there's two different ways that happens.
So this doesn't work the same whether you're on, you know, AT&T or Verizon? It's different?
No. So if you're on Verizon or Sprint, you're on a CDMA network, and that's carrier something, multiple access, carrier division, or somebody correct me. Anyway, it's a different type of multiplexing, and you're going to see here as I illustrate it in just a moment, as opposed to GSM, which I cannot pronounce because it's German and came from a long time ago, and I'll have to look that one up. But GSM is essentially a TDMA technology. So TDMA versus CDMA is really what we're talking about here.
I think I know what TDMA stands for.
Okay, what does TDMA stand for?
Time, division, multiplex, multiple?
You would think that it's multiplexing. It is multiple access.
And then access.
Yep, multiple access. The idea in this case is we have our finite resource. Well, actually, both of these are finite resources. We have time on both of these. And time's constantly going forward. And then we also have our spectrum over here, okay? And so with our spectrum, the way that it works in the case of a TDMA-based technology, like GSM, like what's on AT&T and T-Mobile, is that if I have 4 users over here, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'll do the same thing over here. So I've got 4 people connected to my tower. Well, if I need all 4 of these people to talk, the way that it's going to work is person number 1 here, and this is really kind of, you know, not getting into some of the other crazy finesse that they do, but the basic idea here is that person number 1 is going to get this chunk of time. Okay. And then he's going to stop broadcasting, and then person number 2 can take over and broadcast for a chunk of time. Person number 3 can do the same. Person number 4 can do that. And then we can go back to person number 1.
So this explains why I'll get a drop call, but several minutes later I can call my mom back.
There's so many factors, but basically within a time division multiple access based network, you have if you only have a single transceiver, a single cell network, and you've got okay, this is with 4 people, right? Now imagine 50 people. Imagine 63 people. Imagine 127 people. Imagine 150,000 people. Now, mind you, not all 150,000 people at CES are in the same hall at the same time. But it really is like a juggling act that the carriers have to do to just be able to get all of this technology to work. And it really breaks down when you have all of these people trying to use that same little slice. So the way that CDMA does it differently, and this is why my survival tips are based on, because I'm on Sprint, but my survival techniques are based on this, is so in this case, user number 1 speaks on all of the spectrum. Or we'll say a majority of it. With TDMA, we can slice spectrum till the cows come home, but we're just going to say in CDMA, person number 1 talks, and they look like that. Okay. Well, now person number 2 talks, and looks like that. Now, if you and I were both, say, at the Hak5 studio, talking over each other on a segment, which we've never done.
No, never. We would just get louder and louder. Yeah.
We could probably discern both of our voices at the
start getting kind of loud.
Just kind of figure out what.
Ah!
All right. Well, the idea there is, there's really cool finesse that can go into figuring out whose voice is whose, and the problem though is, person number 3 gets in here, person number 4 gets in here, and what happens is that noise floor raises as more people are talking. So it's like being in a big banquet hall, and the difference between passing the hot potato or the torch and saying okay, now you can talk, now you can talk, now you can talk, and just everybody going nuts at the same time.
So that explains to me why if you're on CDMA, you don't have as many issues with the calls dropping or your text messages getting out, because you're still sharing the spectrum. But wouldn't that drain your battery life if you're doing that, because you're trying to reach for that higher level on the spectrum tower the whole time? I
don't think that that either of these technologies can be attributed to why calls drop or text messages go through. However, I will say that in both of these cases, what happens is our phones are set up in such a way that when they're far from the tower, or when they're competing for other resources with other people, within the geographic region of say this is the conference hall, and I've got a tower here, and I've got a tower here, and I've got a tower here, and so this one is oh no, I'm over, I'm seeing that I've got some overlap here. That's actually causing problems, because this guy here is hey, so
he's continuously searching for the best one.
Well, what I'm saying is these towers, they will, since they're all part of a bigger network, they'll intelligently tweak the way that they use their power so that everybody uses the resource most efficiently. What's unfortunate is that not all of our phones are as efficient as they could be, and so what generally happens is the noise floor rises in both cases of CDMA and GSM. And so those are the circumstances which do attribute to the fact that your calls will drop. But moreover, what happens is when we're in this banquet hall all screaming at the top of our lungs at the same time, that's my analogy that equates to the wattage that the transceiver in your phone is using. And to be able to transmit it the difference between 300 milliamps versus a watt is huge, and that's going to drain your battery much faster. And that's exactly what happens when you go to a sporting event, a big conference here, when we go to DEF CON or ShmooCon or any of those, batteries drain faster because you're around more people with phones.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Now, since this is Hak5 and we're discussing how do you fix this problem, what did you do?
Well, I've got a little app, and I guess this is something that people have been telling me for ages to take a look at. So in just a bit here, I want to actually show off just some really, really, really horrible code that kind of mitigates this in a very brute force and nasty hack job manner. But before we get to that, I've been looking over here at this. I want to know what that is.
domain.com is the best place to go for your next great idea. If you need to get a domain name, consider getting yourself a .com. See, a .com domain is the original. We all know it's globally understood, immediately lends credibility no matter what you choose. You can find yourself a .com over at domain.com. Shannon and I are huge fans of them because they're affordable, reliable, easy to use, and plus domain.com's active social media presence on Twitter at domain.com. You know, they have great customer service. They're really just a fun place to do business. So the guys over at domain.com, they're huge fans of you guys in Hak5, and they want to hook us all up to get 15% off their already affordable domain names and web hosting. All you have to do is use the coupon code HAK5 at domain.com's checkout. That's 15% off and big savings. Don't forget to use the coupon code HAK5. When you think domain names, think domain.com.